Hello everybody. Thanks very much for allowing me to do this presentation. I've actually been looking forward to it actually. It's going to be in three parts. The first part, who is Colchester Press? Where do we come from and what do we do? The second part is how do we actually do it? And the third part is asking for your help. And I'll explain a little bit more in detail as we go on. I have put through to you all a competition, a little question sheet, a little bit of fun. If you got it, fantastic. There will be a prize at the end of it, which I'll explain what it is. But there will be a prize for everybody as well. But cracking on with what I just said, who is Colchester Press and where do we come from? My career actually started when I took the King's Shilling back in 1977. Now, back then I joined the army. Now, as you can see from that particular picture there, I've actually got hair, lots of hair. But as I've already said, that was before I was self-employed and before I got married. Now, after I left the army, I generally said that I'm never gonna listen to anybody's orders again. No one's ever gonna tell me what to do. I had 18 years of it. But as I've already said, that didn't really work because I got married. Now, I decided to work for myself. The first thing that I'd done was had a company called Just Wills. That was writing last wills and testaments. I brought a license, it was like a franchise. Now, I went away on a Wednesday afternoon, got there about 1 o'clock, done the training round until about 4 o'clock. And apparently that made me trained. So after doing this for a little while, I realised that that really wasn't for me. After I scrapped that, I then brought into a franchise, quite expensive franchise actually, and this was selling specialist lighting to the food industry. This was things like, have you ever been into a butcher's before and you look at the cabinet and the meat is really lovely looking, it looks fantastic, but you take that meat away from the cabinet, doesn't look too good, put it back on, they go, wow, it looks good. Now the lightings that we were dealing with, it was taking away some of the colour spectrums and adding other colour spectrums, so various colours look good. Now there were certain tubes which were for vegetables, there were certain tubes that were for meat, there were certain moves that were for bakery and fish, all different colour spectrums in them. Now that is actually illegal after a time and that wasn't allowed to actually do it. But before that actually come in, I actually sold this particular company for a good profit. So I've done actually quite well out of Barrow Lighting. Now, after a couple of months of not doing a hell of a lot with my time, I saw an advertisement and it was print your own money. And that seemed a good idea to me. So this was for a hot foil printer, which is called a Kobo. So it's a Kobo hot foil printer. And that would be for printing things like invitations, where you see the gold print around the edges and this sort of thing. It was very good at doing gold foil business cards or silver foil or any sort of foils that you wanted it to actually do. I've actually still got this particular machine. It's actually in the shed in the bottom of my back garden, but I can't throw it away, it's mine. After a period of doing that, I was approached by my partner and we formed a company called Town Printing Services, which is still going today. And we brought out a printer, which was H. Osborne's from Osborne Street. So we brought that out and continued working then from which was then the Colby on Magdalen Street, that's now been rebuilt. Now that picture there, it's an AB Dick. That was our first LIFO printer. Now that was only a 2-colour, so it could only print a red and a green or a black or an orange. It couldn't print full colour unless you're printing the same different colour 4 times on top of each other. And that became quite difficult. So over the time, when I first started printing, we was actually called Classic Impressions. And we've actually been into various places. Now, in 2001, I moved away from Town Printing, even though I'm still a partner in Town Printing, to call ourselves Colchester Press Limited. Now, in 2008, we moved up to Easter Park, which is on the Severals Industrial Estate. 2010, we've got an office now, which we're working from in the Western Homes on Hawkins Road. Now, what is it we actually do? Now, when people think of printing, they generally think business cards, leaflets, brochures, but printing is one hell of a lot more. It's things that people don't really realise that it's actually being printed to get there. Like, for example, a voucher. Now, I've been into some of my customers quite regularly, and they've got something else printed. They may have what's known as an NCR, no carbon required. And I said, well, who printed that? Oh, we didn't realise that you did it. Well, to me, I think printing is printing, but not to everybody. Now, things like, for example, presentation folders, they thought that was something specialist. No, we print those. Put up banners. No, we print those on the wide format display. We can do all that sort of thing. Now, when you look at any sort of printing, leaflets is always going to be our best seller. Now, what companies are good for us and what companies are bad for us? Well, in fact, all companies are good for us. We like to print for everybody. But the top of the tree for us is estate agents. We do one hell of a lot with estate agents. You can see on the picture there, we deal with quite a few of them. Fen Wright is on there, but we don't actually print for Fen Wright anymore. I don't know why it stopped, but we don't actually print for those anymore. Now, as it's that time of year, Printmas is coming, and we've got it all wrapped up. So I just want to go over a little bit about Christmas. The first thing I want to talk about really is Christmas cards. Now, a hell of a lot of companies now are actually using e-cards. Now, they're great, they're fantastic. They've got little moving things, you can send it to everybody, you can download it once and send it to all your customers. They're actually absolutely fantastic. They are really, really good. But let's be fair about it. You know where it comes from. Your customer knows where it comes from. And your customer knows that you have actually sent exactly the same thing to everybody on your database. Now, the wonderful thing about a Christmas card is tangible, it's solid, it's there. And your customer knows that you've actually taken time to send it to them. Now, with a Christmas card, you know how good you feel when you receive it. Now, just to put that in some sort of context, is one of our customers will always give us a bottle of wine for Christmas. He always comes in, he says hello, and he brings a bottle of wine for us, which is fantastic. We can get the same products from elsewhere, probably cheaper as well, but I'm not going to do that. I'm always going to use this guy, this company, because he's keeping in touch with me. And it's the same as the Christmas card. It's saying that you care, your customer is important to you. Now, with our Christmas cards, we can actually make them a little bit more special by finishing them. We can put a laminate on them. Now, the laminate is normally gloss, could be matte, or it can be soft touch. Another good thing for Christmas is the wall calendars. Now, a wall calendar is great because it's advertising your company 365 days of the year. It's always there. Now, every time you turn a page or you turn a month, there's another product that you may deal with. There's another message that you may deal with. So it's changing and keeping your name in front of your customer every single day of the year. Now, generally, these are printed as A4 or A3. We can print them onto what's known as a stock paper. That's great because it then allows you to write on it easily. If it's more for display, then we can put it onto a glossy, or we can put it onto a silk. So there's lots and lots of options there. Another good seller for us over Christmas is the digital calendars. I say digital because they're going through a digital printer, obviously. Now, the wonderful thing about them, if you want one, we can print one. If you want two, we can print two, or lots of them, obviously. Now, generally, what we're printing then is onto A3s, cutting them in half, and they can be a nice long thing. They can be the A3, and you can see that they're as little as £20. Now, the wonderful thing about them, they make wonderful stocking fillers or a little present to your mum, your sister, your brother, your kids, or whatever. It can be your pictures. So if you've got pictures of your holiday from last year and you want to tell everybody about it, send us 12 pictures and we'll put one per month onto the calendar for you. So there's lots of things that are all possible. Desk calendars. Now, with a desk calendar, there are lots of calendars out there now, which are, again, all online. Now, for example, we've probably all got a Google calendar. We've probably got a Apple calendar. We've probably got Microsoft calendar. We've got lots of different calendars, which is all fantastic. The wonderful thing, again, about a desk calendar is people still use them. They're still there. You go into a company now, look over the desk, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a desk calendar. Now, with the desk calendar, it's very helpful to the person that you're giving it to, because all they got to do is to browse, and they can see a date, they can browse, but every time they're browsing, they're seeing your name, they're seeing your product. So again, it's a wonderful thing that you can give free to your customers and advertise yourself at the same time. A wall planner. Now, the most popular size wall planner is what's known as a B2. Now, the B2 is 707 millimeters by 500 millimeters in depth. That is what we call the ISO size, but there are slightly different sizes, but that is generally the major size there. Now, with all our wall calendars, they're all printed onto the 250 gram. Because they're going onto the wall, they need to be a little bit sturdier than your normal sort of paper, because they've got to last. They're going to be up there for a year. And they're normally used in offices or in warehouses, that sort of application. Going on to the last part really is how you guys can help us. I'm asking for your help. As we all know, that successful companies are using printed media, and it is an essential part of their advertising mix. Now, what I'm asking you guys is, every time that something comes through your door, if it's a leaflet, can I ask you to keep hold of that leaflet, take a photograph of it even, and send it on to me. Now, they're fantastic because I know that that company is advertising, and I also can tell from that what sort of paper they're using. I can tell what size they're using. Now, if I say, for example, I get the same thing come back from Mark, Mark sent me a couple of things over the years, and I've actually got business for it. So thanks very much for that, Mark. Say I'll get a leaflet from Mark and I'll get the same thing from, say, for example, Andrea and Sean. Then I can sort of have a good idea on how many they're putting out. So I can approach that company. I can see you're using A5 leaflets and you're probably using, what, 50,000? I can give you a price. So that sort of things is all good. If you ever go to an exhibition, for example, probably not now because of all this lockdown, but when that all becomes unlocked down, you're going to get a pen, or you're going to get a ruler, you're going to get a key ring. If you've got no need for those things, instead of throwing them away, would you keep hold of them for me? And that way I can tell that they're using these things, these promotional goods, and I can get back to them and say, I can see you're using this calendar, have you seen else? the competition, going back to the quiz. With the quiz, I've actually mentioned all the questions there that are on that quiz sheet. If you're interested in winning a 10% voucher, so you can spend it with us over Christmas, we will send you the voucher, but all we ask back is a scanned image of your question sheet. And out of all those question sheets, the best one, the one with the most answers, or if there's several the same answer, we'll just take one and that person will get a 15% voucher that can be spent over the Christmas period. So overall, thank you very much for listening. My name's Eric, and as somebody mentioned earlier, premium print, whatever the goal, whatever the budget. Thank you.
Printing. And I mean, my first question on that one, Eric, if I can start the question session, is printing dying due to all the things happening on PCs and screen and internet and all that sort of stuff?
I don't think printing is dying, but the forms of printing or the types of printing. I'll give you a classic example of that is something I mentioned earlier was NCR. What we mean by NCR is no carbon required. Do you remember the books where you get a delivery man come and he'll say, sign there, sir, and you used to sign there and used to rip off the top copy for you. The bottom copy would go to the accounts and the third copy would be kept in the book or whatever. That's not needed anymore because people are signing telephones or you just put your finger across the screen and that's all being done. Yeah. So that type of thing is going. Also things like letterheads, for example, where once upon a time every single company used to have a letterhead. Well, they probably still have, but they're not getting them printed anymore because their own home printer can print them out. And being fair, the quality of some of these home printers now is first class. It's really, really good. Or if they're not going to use that, it's something that's already on their system and they just press go on their system and it gets emailed to somewhere. So printing, it has dropped in that sense, but things like brochures, magazines, menus, price lists, things like that are still going to be around for a hell of a lot longer. I hope.
I've got sort of a related question, Eric. Obviously, we're courtesy of Essex County Council being put under house arrest again for who knows how long. So what do you think the future is for the humble business card?
That's a bit of a draw. Sorry about that. With a business card, it is going out. It is going because we've got things like now Zoom, for example. Zoom's going to be around for a hell of a lot longer. Once we go out of lockdown and things go back to normal-ish, Zoom is still going to be there. Like every one of you guys on there today, there's 13 people here. I haven't got all your business cards, and the chances are you're not going to give any business cards because there's no one to give a business card to. So what is happening though is the business card is changing. It's getting better in the fact that once a business card used to be just a business card. After that, now we got business card with raised print on it. With that raised print, it's a little bit thicker than what it used to be. With the business card, we've now got foil across it. We've got UV on it. So there's lots of different things we're doing with business cards now, which makes it a little bit different. But the humble business card, as you said, it is going out. It is definitely going out.
Can I have a refund on the business card you did for me then, Eric? So Eric, I was going to ask about these actually because I was curious. This was the business card I used to have, which was almost through the tutor doctor kind of recommended printers as such. And then I showed this to Eric a little while ago, and I said, Eric, can you mirror that basically? And he did. He pretty much produced the same thing. But Eric, how much work was that for you to kind of mirror that card? Was that a lot of work for you, or was that dead simple?
It really depends. What we do with something like that, the first thing we do is to scan it. We then run what's known as a OCR. That means optical character recognition. And what that will do is take all the text from that particular card. So we then take that text and just put it onto a blank screen as such. The next thing we've got to do is to find out what fonts were actually used there, or the typeface was actually used there. Most of the time, fonts are quite easy to track and you can find them. There's lots of programs out there which will help you to find a font as well. The only time it will really become difficult is if you've got what we call shading. If you've got one shade leading into another shade, because it's very hard to find out what colour actually made that shade. So if we've got a blue or we've got a green, we can tell that's blue, that's green, and we can put our charts next to it and we can find out what colours they are. But when you've got a shading that's one colour gone into another colour, you don't know what those colours were. So all you're trying to do then is try to find a colour, what the shading is, and that never comes out right unless you can work out the particular colours. There are some things obviously that you can't do. You've got to turn around and say, no, we can't do that. But generally,
you did a great job. You did a great job on my one.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can I just ask a question?
Of course you can.
Yeah. Photo books are very popular at the moment. Is that something that you're looking to do, or can you do? You know, hard-covered books with various photos on each page?
We actually tried that a few years ago, and that is very, very popular this day and age. But to make it cost-effective, you've got to have quite a few orders in. Right. Now, it's one of these, if you look at, say, for example, this box or that box, or these companies that are actually doing it online again, they will put these things together, put it all into a brochure for you. It's lovely. Now, we can do that, but it's a time-consuming thing. So if it's going to take us, say, for example, a couple of hours to do that, then we've got to charge a couple of hours for that work it's done. So therefore, it then makes us uncompetitive with it, because you can get it online for a tenner. Then our price is going to be about £30–40 for the same thing. That's just as an idea. So we can do it, but we're not cost effective for doing it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand. So
thanks very much for asking that.
Yeah, okay.
Eric, just one possible job I have in the lineup at the moment you might be able to do for me. I'm turning out my office at the moment and finding about 30 years worth of stuff sitting there. But a couple of things I found some 35mm color slides I shot some years ago. These particular ones have a special significance. It's a friend of mine who died a couple of years ago, and I'd quite like to get the pictures printed up and framed for his widow. Is that something you might be able to do for me?
No.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, that's a specialist thing there.
Okay.
We might be able to help you out with that.
But worth asking anyway.
Yeah, thanks very much for asking.
Okay.
We can't.
Not at all.
Appreciate that.
There are sort of scanning tools that I know that you can put slides in to do that with. So yeah, there must be a service that can do that for you, if not a product you can buy to do it.
It may be worth going down to a couple of the copy shops, these sort of things. Now, I know there's a company called Mailboxes. Now, with this in Colchester, it's actually a franchise, but with Mailboxes, that they've got connections up and above themselves as such. Now, they will take on lots of different sort of work. We've actually used them for various things before in the past.
Okay.
Give them a go. Mailboxes, there's.
Thanks, Eric. I'll do that. Thank you.